Alarms about this game, Brew? Bad night or a sign of larger issues for Tampa Bay?
Well, both. Like, obviously, Mike Evans is out for maybe most of the rest of the season, if not longer. So that hurts you. And I think it was a bad sign. Look, they're going to win their division. I thought Atlanta might challenge them, but Atlanta just seems to be up and down. You don't know.
Carolina's only a game back.
Look, I don't think they're as good as they're not going to beat Tampa Bay, but like they're improving. So I see improvement there. But they're going to win that division. But honestly, I think they are what they have been these last few years. Yeah, I really do. They're a very good team.
Feisty.
Well, I mean, like a legit playoff team without question. I don't think they're as good as the Philadelphias, the Detroits, the Green Bays, especially if Green Bay plays closer to its potential. And so I think, and the Rams, I would put them slightly below those four teams. They're good. So what I would say to them is they better get home field advantage. You've been talking, they do have the easier schedule. If you look at their schedule.
The next four are tough, and then it's
well, New Orleans, which, you know, is not like, but you got to play them hard. But they got the three after that are tough. And then they, look, those games won't, you still got to play hard, but you should win that last row.
Well, that's the thing,
at least
Brew.
All but one. So they got, to me, they have to get, Nick, the home field advantage.
The one seed, you're saying?
Well, I mean, to have a real chance to win the Super Bowl, I would say yes, or to get to the Super Bowl. I just don't think they're quite as good as those upper echelon teams.
I mean, we saw them play Philly. I know they lost. That game was, a 51-49 game. So I don't think it's fair to say they are not on par with the Rams or the Eagles. It's hard for me to say right now they're on par with Detroit because they just played in Detroit, beat them soundly. I know Philly beat them as well, but that, like we said, that game came down to the final moments. What they have working for them is they have a meaty 5-2 record, and that of all the league, of all the teams with a winning record, only Philly and Jacksonville have faced a tougher schedule. So when you see who they've beaten, they have beaten winning teams, and I know it's been close.
It's not incredibly I mean, you're right. But Seattle is their best win.
And throw their schedule up there again. San Francisco's 5 2. Seattle's 5-2. The Jets are obviously terrible.
Houston, the Jets,
and Atlanta's maybe average team, right? And the Philadelphia came down. They haven't played, aside from the Jets, any walkovers, we feel. Houston's weird because they have the number one defense in football and just a terrible, terrible offense. So I think that works in their favor. The Mike Evans thing is a big deal, and his historic streak of 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons is obviously over. But broken collarbone, he should be back for the playoffs. And to your point about their schedule, if they can just go 2-2 in the next four, which is beat the Saints and then go 1-2, Patriots, Bills, Rams, which I think is totally reasonable. Then you're 7-4 going into that last stretch, and I think the one seed, which was my biggest reason for picking them to go to the Super Bowl, was I thought they had a great chance at the one seed and people were undervaluing it. I also think that they are going to get in-season boosts by all these guys returning. Not Evans is who I'm talking about here. Multiple offensive linemen injured. Bucky Irving injured. Godwin, Abuka got banged up at one point, and they sustained it. So I'm not going to, when I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, 5-2 through this first 7, I just signed up for that. Yeah, and so it feels bad because of last night, but I think they're a really good team, and I think they had a pretty bad game that with some bad breaks go against them yesterday. So you guys know how much I like the Rams. I don't think the Rams are better than them, and I don't know that Philly is too hot and cold for me to definitively say that.
Certainly Philly at its best, but you might not get that. But you don't want to play them. I mean, because Baker, and Baker will play well in the playoffs too.
Yes.
But I just don't think overall they're as good as those other teams.
This stat that Josh gave me is the hot sauce that is slightly too hot of stats.
Okay.
Where it's like you have a hot sauce, like that's good. And then you have some hot sauce, you're like, that's a little too hot for me. Yeah. But I kind of like it, but I kind of dislike it. If games ended with 90 seconds left, this is what you were talking about, of just like playing with fire, bro. It's Titans, Bucs, Bengals, Dolphins, Saints, Jets, Raiders. It's a weird stat. I don't know
none of those other teams are any good.
No, I don't know if I like it. If you can look at it through the prism of this is a great team and he knows how to win, or you can look at it through like, I don't know. They're the only first place team that has a negative total points.
Right, they're -1 for the season.
That matters to me. I think it's
okay. Let's talk about this. Because obviously the Bucs have had so many of these, last second victories. I'm less concerned about that. I think their offense has been so heavily reliant on a lot of these big plays. Baker had been living off these deep ball touchdowns especially, and when that's not there, then you run into problems. It was not there against the Lions, and that's how you get a 24-9 loss. Baker obviously was really, really inaccurate last night. It was an exceptionally poor passing game for him, as he will be the first one to admit that. You obviously aren't expecting him to be that inaccurate throughout the course of a season. But at the same time, I don't expect him to be as accurate as he had been throughout the first chunk of the season. You're gonna average out somewhere. And we've seen the highest of all highs, and we now arguably have seen the lowest of all lows. So what can this offense look like? One, when they're actually fully healthy. Two, when they're actually playing closer to who they are rather than constantly beyond themselves. Because we had seen Baker playing unbelievably great. And again, against the Lions, he did not play well. But here's the positive, though. There were absolutely plays for the Bucs to make. Now, again, the defense for the Lions absolutely decimated. But there were plays to make. If there were points on the board that again, if Baker didn't have such an off night, the plays were there. And then that really kind of changes the nature of this game. So that to me is probably the most interesting part of this entire game, is that there were plays to be made. There were throws to be made. Baker just didn't make them. And again, sometimes that's just the way it goes. And if Baker just had 2 less bad throws, the game radically transforms in terms of what this score could be. But like I said, for him, unfortunately, it was just an exceptionally poor performance on his behalf. But like, you're not gonna rip a quarterback for having an off night or for being inaccurate, which is for being inaccurate on so many deep balls. Because I think he was 0 for 7 on 20 or more passes, and the one would have been caught probably if Mike Evans just doesn't go down with that. He probably will come away with that catch, and then who knows. And obviously losing Mike Evans is devastating, is a huge bummer, and it's exactly why they drafted Ibuka. It's why I kept saying as soon as they drafted Ibuka, I'm like, this is why. They know they have, an aging, injury-prone receiving core. They need to take care of that, and there you go. And so, yeah, I think a lot of these teams right now are difficult to evaluate and trying to be like, well, are they as good as the Rams or the Eagles or this or that? And it's just like, and what will they look like in the playoffs? Man, at this point in October, I just don't know how much it matters trying to figure out how these teams match up with one another in the playoffs, because everyone's been so banged up all over. I don't know. Is Ibuka going to be in the playoffs? I don't know, man. Is Puka going to be in the playoffs? I don't know. Saquon Barkley going to make it throughout the season? Like, I don't know, man. I seriously, I think everyone's. Are the Lions actually healthy going into the playoffs? I got no idea. So I don't think that's necessary right now to really kind of look at that. I do think Nick is doing some sleight of hand here now, because he does not think the 49ers are a good team. He thinks that they specifically were going to have a good record this year only because they have only because they're playing bad teams. They have like the easiest schedule in the NFL. He does not think Mac Jones is a good quarterback. So any other team that beat the 49ers in that moment, I promise you, he would not say like, well, they're 5-2. Like, I promise you that. And he does not think the Falcons are good. And the Seahawks he doesn't think are great either. He's not a believer in Sam Darnold. So, and again, I'm not trying to figure out, how many wins do they have against, winning teams and whatnot. But the two best opponents that the Bucs faced in both halves, Baker Mayfield against the Lions was 9 for 16, 47 yards, and an interception at half. They crossed midfield once, and that was because of Goff's turnover. Against the Philadelphia Eagles in the first half, 12 for 21, 65 yards, 3.1 yards per attempt, and a 62.6 passer rating. You can't do that against the good teams. It becomes too much to overcome. And that's what I'm trying to say about the boomer bust offense. The way how the Bucs were able to get back into the game against the Eagles, it was those big plays, those big deep balls. Some of them were because of nice throws and nice catches and nice execution. Some of it was just because of just miscommunications and just bad defense on the Philadelphia Eagles' part. And again, in this game, there was moments to be able to maybe get back into this game, but the balls, they were just not connecting this time around. That became a fundamental difference. I just think that this is just one of those games that I don't think you linger on too heavily. I would be more concerned if the throws weren't there, if the opportunities weren't there. That's what had been concerning about a handful of the Eagles games or the Bills games, where you were just like, there's nowhere to go with the ball. And some of these quarterbacks are just left on an island. You're just like, what is there to do? And that's more concerning. That's a coaching, personnel, whatever. Like, that's the issue. That's not what the Bucs experienced last night. So that's why I think that's a major positive. And like I said, we can use Jalen Hurts' game against the Giants. Like, Jalen Hurts in that game when he lost, where they got rolled, he really only had like two bad throws. The one that led to the interception and the one that he just kind of slightly overthrew on A.J. Brown. And outside of that, though, you're like, okay, well, if they connect with those, what could the score be? It would be a lot closer. The game would definitely be different, that's for sure. And you can kind of see it a little bit. But when you're watching, like, say, another Eagles game or another Eagles half, where you're just like, there's no one open. You're like, they had no passing yards or no positive yards. And it's like, there's no one's open. There's nowhere to go with the ball. What are you supposed to do? That's concerning. Looking at the Lions' loss against the Kansas City Chiefs, you're like, like that 4th and 2 call, like, that was there. Amon-Ra St. Brown catches that ball 99 out of 100. You're like, that fundamentally changes the game. I think you feel better when there's just some missed throws here and there, that you're just like, the play is there. The play is there. You just got to execute it. And again, unfortunately for Baker and the Bucs last night, he just, he had like 5 bad throws. It was a lot. He had multiple to Ibuka. The one where he hit the defender in the butt. He overthrew, I forget who it was, in the end zone for a touchdown. He overthrew Ibuka. He overthrew Ibuka twice at least. The underthrow, that's 3. The bad throw in the end zone, that's 4. Those are just off throws that under normal circumstances, he probably at least hits half of those, right? At least just half those. And if you just hit half of those, then you get a different game. You get a different game. But the Lions also gave you a gift with the interception and whatnot, and they helped keep you in the game too. So I think ultimately this is a game that you probably don't linger on too heavily. And then you are grateful that you're like, hey, we got a pretty straightforward schedule coming up. Maybe the Cardinals are feisty. Maybe Jacoby Brissett is still the quarterback. I don't know. Maybe Spencer Rattler and the Saints put up a fight, divisional and whatnot. Who knows what the Bills are? Rams will be interesting. Patriots will be interesting. again, the Panthers, I know they're winning. I don't know. Maybe they'll actually surprise everyone and be a legitimately competitive team. Bryce Young turned the corner. Panthers turned the corner. I don't think anyone's really holding their breath on that one. Week 17, Miami Dolphins. I mean, is Tua going to be the quarterback? Is there going to be an interim head coach? Like, what? At that point, the Dolphins are like, we just want to keep losing so we can draft higher and higher and higher. And the Falcons, I'm sure by week 15, they'll still have plenty to fight for. So that should be an interesting game as well. But I do think for the most part, the schedule's in their favor, and their division is in their favor as well. So playoffs are obviously, I don't think we're going to doubt the Bucs' ability to get into the playoffs. And then in that case, once you're all in the dance, right now, I don't think I could comfortably name any team, especially in the NFC, especially if we're looking at a lot of these teams that we believe will all be there. The Eagles, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Rams, the Lions. I don't know what team is truly showing that they are just above and beyond better than the rest. And it will come down to, did you overthrow that guy or did you get it? Right? That fumble, when that ball gets punched out, are you able to recover it or not? Right? Or does it bounce out of bounds, or what? It's going to come down to all these little things, like I just said against in my Detroit Lions video. And that was another bad throw that Baker made that then led to the interception. So that's what I'm saying. This was just an exceptionally poor game from a quarterback who had been playing awesome. So Bucs have a bad night or sign of bigger issues. They had a bad night, an exceptionally bad night. Is it a sign of bigger issues? No, but it does point out some of their weaknesses in terms of they really rely heavily on these big home run shots, and when they don't get them, it's a lot harder for them to overcome it. And so if anything, and maybe ends up being a good thing, that they kind of recognize that and realize, hey, we got to be able to play a smaller brand of football throughout the course of a game. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield? Do you think it was a sign of bigger issues or just a bad night? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.